There are 8 ordinary objects that may be quietly draining your life, and you paid money to bring every one of them into the very room where you are most defenseless. They do not look dangerous. That is exactly why they have gone unnoticed for years, sitting in plain sight, blending into the walls until you no longer see them at all, but your mind sees them. Every night it sees them. Let me show you what you have been sleeping next to, and by the time we are finished, I think you will never look at the room you sleep in the same way again. Begin with the truth that most people live their whole lives without ever pausing to consider. When you are awake, you wear armor. You judge, you filter, you decide what is allowed to affect you and what is not. Someone says a cruel word and you can choose to set it down. A heavy image passes and you can look away. All day long, that armor protects you and you forget you are even wearing it. But then night comes, you lie down, your eyes close, and one by one the straps of that armor loosen and fall to the floor, until you are lying in a single room for hours with no defense at all, and whatever surrounds you in that room walks straight into the soft, open, undefended mind. For roughly a third of your entire life, you are in this state. A third. Add up the years. The room where you sleep has shaped more of who you are than almost any other place on earth. And most people have never once chosen what is in it on purpose. The old teachers understood this long before anyone could measure it. They taught that the place you sleep is not where you escape your life. It is where your life is quietly being written. The mind, they said, is like still water at night. Whatever you set beside it, it reflects. Whatever you steep it in, it slowly becomes. A person can pray for abundance in the morning and then sleep for 8 hours soaked in the energy of decay, of endings, of things broken and unfinished, and then wonder in the daylight why their life keeps tasting of lack. They are watering one seed by day and poisoning it by night. And let me be clear about a word, because we will use it often: poverty. When the teachers warned about poverty, they did not only mean an empty bank account. They meant something deeper and far more contagious: a poverty of spirit, a heaviness in the chest, the quiet conviction carried somewhere below thought that there is not enough, that you are not enough, that good things happen to other people. That inner poverty comes first, always, and the outer kind follows it like a shadow follows a body. Change what surrounds your sleeping mind, and you begin to change the inner climate from which your whole life grows. This is not magic. It is the most practical thing in the world. So when someone comes to me exhausted, telling me they work harder than anyone they know and still cannot get ahead, that everything they reach for slips through their fingers, I have learned not to ask about their job or their luck or their plans. I ask one quiet question: may I see where you sleep? And almost every time, the same handful of things are waiting for me there. 8 of them. Let me walk you through them slowly, the way I would if I were standing in the doorway of your own room tonight. The first thing I look for is the clothes. The clothes and the shoes you have not worn in years and somehow still cannot let go of. Open the closet of a person whose life feels stuck, and you will often find it crowded with garments that fit a body they no longer have, that suit a life they no longer live. I once sat with a woman who could not understand why she felt so heavy every morning, so reluctant to begin her day. Her home was clean, her habits were good, but when I looked in her bedroom closet, it was packed so tightly the door would barely close, and almost none of it had been worn in a decade. I asked her gently why she kept it all. She went quiet for a long moment, and then she said, "Because if I let it go, I have to admit that part of my life is really over." There it was. Those clothes were not clothes. They were a promise she kept making to herself in the dark, that she might still go back, that she might shrink again into who she used to be. And the mind hears that promise every single night and obeys it, holding her in place, refusing to let her move forward into the life that was actually waiting. When she finally gave the clothes away, she told me it felt less like cleaning a closet and more like exhaling a breath she had been holding for 10 years. Release what no longer fits your life, and you are not losing anything. You are giving yourself permission to have already moved on. Then there are the dead machines, and almost everyone has a drawer of them. The cracked phone that still has photos on it, you think. The tangle of cables to devices you threw away years ago. The remote control to a television that no longer exists. The little radio that stopped working before your children were grown. Each one of these is something more than clutter. Each one is a decision you began and never finished. A small open door you walked away from. And the bedroom slowly fills with these unfinished things until the whole room hums quietly with incompletion. The mind cannot rest among 100 unfinished tasks. Even with your eyes closed, some thin part of you keeps half reaching toward every one of them all night long, like a hand that never quite closes. The teachers spoke often of completion, of bringing things to their proper end, so the heart can be at peace. Gather every dead machine into a single bag. Let them leave the house entirely. And then notice, the very first night, how much more deeply the room lets you sleep. The papers are quieter than the machines, but in some ways they are worse because they wear the mask of importance. The unopened envelopes, the documents you keep meaning to sort, the stack that began on the desk, then migrated to the top of the dresser, then settled at last on the floor beside your bed, where it now lives like a small grey mountain. You tell yourself it is just paperwork. It is not. That pile is the visible shape of every decision you have postponed, every responsibility you have set aside for a tomorrow that keeps not coming. And it sits there at the exact height of your closed eyes as you drift to sleep, murmuring the same thing over and over. You still have not dealt with us. You still have not dealt with us. Is it any wonder the mind wakes up already tired, already behind, before the day has even asked anything of it? The old teachers would tell you that a cluttered space is simply a cluttered mind made visible, turned inside out where you can finally see it. So deal with the mountain, sort it, file it, pay it, or release what is already dead, and feel the silence it had been quietly stealing from you come flooding back. Now look at the furniture itself, the bones of the room, the chair with the leg that wobbles, the mattress sunk into a valley in the middle, the dresser missing a handle that you have been meaning to fix since the year you first moved in. I want you to understand the slow poison of living among broken things, because it is so gradual that no one ever notices it happening. When everything around you is damaged, cracked, barely holding together, you are being taught a lesson every single day without a single word being spoken. You are being taught to expect less, to accept less, to stop noticing that you have stopped asking for more. There is an old idea found in many traditions that a person rises or sinks to the level of what they live among. Surround yourself with things that are broken and tolerate them long enough, and slowly you come to believe a broken life is simply what you are owed. Repair what can be repaired. Replace what truly cannot. A room that holds together whispers a very different lesson to the sleeping mind. It whispers, you are worth keeping whole. The plants are faster, but do not skip past them. The bouquet that dried out and browned 3 months ago that somehow still sits in its vase. The plastic flowers wearing their thin grey coat of dust. One of them is a thing that died in your room and was never carried out. The other was never alive at all, only pretending, only performing the appearance of life. And both of them teach the sleeping mind the same two false lessons, hour after hour through the night, that decay is normal and that imitation is good enough. Neither lesson belongs anywhere near a person who is trying to grow. Throw out what has died. Throw out what only pretends. Bring in one living plant and truly care for it. Water it. Turn it toward the light. Or else leave the space honestly empty. Honest emptiness is always richer than a beautiful lie. Be especially careful with the mirror. A mirror that faces your bed keeps one thin edge of you awake the entire night. Some old watchful part of the mind that cannot fully surrender into rest while it senses movement and reflection in the dark. And if that mirror is cracked, it does something worse still, scattering the room into broken fragments every time light crosses it. But there is a deeper teaching hidden in the mirror, and it is this. The mirror is the self, endlessly studying the self. It is the loop of a mind that cannot stop circling its own face, its own worry, its own sense of not being enough. A person caught sleeping inside that loop never quite rests and never quite grows, because some part of them is always turned back toward themselves. Turn the mirror to the wall at night, cover it, or move it out of the room entirely. You are owed at least one place in this world where nothing reflects you back, not the world and not even your own restless eyes. Before we reach the last two, let me ask you to do one small thing, because it matters more than it seems. Somewhere in your home right now, there is almost certainly at least one of these things I have named. Picture it. Just picture the one you already know is there. And in the comments below, write a single sentence. I am ready to let it go. Naming it, even silently, even just to a comment box, is the first loosening of the grip. And the grip is the whole problem. Now, let us continue, because the next thing is the heaviest of all. Harder than the clothes, harder than the papers, harder than anything else in that room is the object tied to someone who hurt you. The photograph of the person you once loved, kept now only out of a habit you have never examined. The gift from the friend who became a stranger. The small thing on the shelf that makes your chest tighten ever so slightly when your eyes happen to pass over it, though you have trained yourself not to notice that tightening anymore. Here is what most people do not understand. You do not need to look at these things for them to work on you. Sleeping beside something is its own slow form of looking. Night after night, in the dark, the unguarded mind reaches out and touches these objects, and an old grief seeps quietly back in, keeping open a door to a room you swore long ago that you had finally walked out of. I once knew a man who could not understand why his sorrow would not lift, no matter how much time passed, until we found, on the wall directly across from his pillow, a photograph from the hardest year of his life that he had simply stopped seeing. He took it down. He told me later that the grief did not vanish overnight, but that for the first time in years, it began slowly to move. The teachers tell us that we do not suffer because the painful thing happened. We suffer because we keep carrying it. Take these objects down gently, with respect, even with gratitude for what they once meant. And notice as you do that it is not really the object you are mourning. It is an ending you never let yourself finish. And the last thing is the one almost no one ever connects to anything at all. A clock in your room that has stopped. Frozen hands. A dead battery no one ever replaced. Time itself standing perfectly still in the exact place where you are meant to renew yourself each and every night. The old teachers would never have called that an accident. A halted clock in the heart of your rest, is the living image of a life that has quietly stopped moving forward, and the mind, ever obedient, ever faithful, takes the shape of whatever it sleeps beside. Sleep beside frozen time long enough, and some part of you begins to believe that your own time has frozen too, that the future is not really coming, that you are simply waiting for nothing. Wind it, replace the battery, or take it out of the room altogether, but do not let anything in the place where you sleep pretend that time has stopped, because it has not stopped, and neither, I promise you, have you. Now, having walked through all 8, let me give you the thing that lives underneath the entire list, because if you miss this, you will have missed everything. Do not sweep through your home tonight in a panic, tearing things off shelves and out of drawers in a frenzy of fear. Fear empties a room the wrong way and leaves it colder and emptier than it was before. The 8 objects were never truly the subject of this teaching. The real subject is the muscle you build by removing even one of them. The muscle of release. The muscle of trusting that an open, empty space is not a sign that you have too little, but the clearest possible proof that you are free enough to receive what is coming. This is the great misunderstanding at the root of so much suffering. The clinging mind believes that safety lies in holding on to everything just in case, and so it hoards and crowds and grips until there is no room left for anything new to enter a life so tightly packed. But the free mind understands the opposite. It makes room. It lets go of what is finished. And into that opening, into that quiet, honest emptiness, life finally has somewhere to walk in. And once you have made the space, be gentle and wise about what you allow back in. Not more clutter dressed up as decoration. Not objects you bought because someone told you they would bring you luck. Bring in a single living thing you will genuinely tend. Keep one window clear so the morning light can reach the floor. And above all, learn to value the open emptiness itself, which the old teachers prized above any object you could ever place in a room. A nearly bare room where you sleep deeply and wake light is richer in every way that matters than a crowded one where you never quite rest. So here is what I ask of you tonight. Do not try to clear the whole room. That is too much, and too much becomes nothing. Instead, stand in the doorway of the place you sleep and look at it honestly, perhaps for the first time in years. Look at it the way a wise old teacher might look at it, with no judgment, only a single quiet question for everything your eyes land on. Does this give me peace, or does it cost me something? Keep what gives you peace, and then take out just one thing that costs you. One. Carry it out of the room tonight. That single honest act will teach you more about your own freedom than anything I could ever say to you. If this teaching found you tonight, leave one word in the comments below. Lighter. That is all. Just that one word, so I know it reached you. And if you would like to keep walking this quiet path together, you already know where to find me. And there are many more of these teachings waiting in the days ahead. Until then, my friend, sleep well tonight, sleep deeply, and wake tomorrow in a room and in a life with just a little more room in it than you had the night before.